Alright, today we're going to finish up this post-test study guide. So this is part 3. We're going to start on 43 and to go to 51. And hopefully there's some sound this time. If there's not, I apologize. Alright, number 43 says explain the difference between the set of real numbers and the set of complex numbers. Give examples to illustrate the difference. So, all real numbers are complex, but not all complex numbers are real. For example, 7 is real and it's complex, but 3 minus 6i is complex but not real. So remember, it's because if you have an imaginary part, that means you are complex and you cannot be real. Any number, complex basically covers any possible number. It's kind of like we talked about in class, like not all squares are rectangles, but all rectangles are squares, kind of that concept. Alright, 44 says, for the complex number 3 minus 6i, identify the real part and the imaginary part, find the absolute value. So real simple. In 3 minus 6i, the 3 is the real part. The minus 6i is the imaginary part. So the minus 6i is the whole second part. And to find the absolute value, you have to remember this formula that says, take the square root of a squared, which is, so the absolute value is equal to the square root of a squared plus b squared. So I take 3, I square it, I add 6 squared. Alright, I don't subtract it because it's absolute value, so I only worry about the positives. So I get square root of 9 plus 36, which gives me the square root of 45. Now remember, last bit is 45 is not perfect, but 9 times 5 is 45, and 9 is perfect. So 9 is perfect, he gets to leave as 3. 5 has to stay in jail forever. Final answer is 3 radical 5. And that's it for 44. So 45 says plot the complex number 5 minus 7i in the complex plane. Now, if you don't know that, this word complex plane means I have to write and say that this is the real axis and this is the imaginary axis. Most people forget that part. Then after that, it's really easy. You go over 5, down to 7. So 5 minus 7i is right there. And that's it. Alright, 46, we have 2 lines. So what you're going to do is you're going to make 2 XY charts. So you're going to start off and you're going to make your first XY chart. I'm going to pick x's, 0, 1, and 2. I'm going to plug them in. So I'm going to plug in 0 for x, so I'm going to have 2 times 0 plus y equals 4. 2 times 0 is 0, so y is just equal to 4. Now I'm going to plug in 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus y equals 4. I subtract 2 from both sides, so y equals 2. When I plug in 2, I get the same thing. 2 times 2 is 4. I subtract 4 from both sides, so y equals 0. Alright, now I'm going to make another XY chart. Make that same XY chart. This time I'm going to make it, I'm going to pick the same point, 0, 1, and 2. Now I plug them in. 0 minus 2, so I get minus 2y equals 8. So y equals negative 4. Now I plug in 1, so I get negative 2 minus 2y equals 8. I'm sorry, negative 1. Sorry, positive 1. I don't know what I'm thinking. I subtract 1 from both sides to get minus 2y equals 7. So y equals negative 3.5. Now I do it again with 2. So I get 2 minus 2y equals 8. Subtract 2 from both sides. I get minus 2y equals 6. So y equals negative 3. Now I graph them. I go 0, negative 4. That's the blue dot is for the blue XY chart. Go over 1 down to negative 3.5. 2 down to negative 3. put a line there. Now I'm going to do a black line for the black XY chart. I'm going to go 0, 4, 1, 2, 2, 0. And to me, I look and see where they cross, and it kind of looks like 3.5, negative 2.5. So that's your solution. X marks the spot. Alright, for 47, 48, and 49, 50, and 51, we're going to use this board right here. It's going to tell us which form to use, which steps to follow. So I look at 47. 47 is y equals 2x squared minus 4x minus 2. It's standard form because there's no parentheses. So I'm going to follow these steps right here. Alright. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say A is 2, B is negative 4, C is negative 2. I'm going to plug it. I'm going to use step 2, which says x equals the opposite of b all over 2a. Remember, I put that in parentheses. So the opposite of negative 4 is positive 4 all over 2 times 2. And remember, guys, you do 2 times 2 first. Do the bottom first. So you get 4 over 4, which is 1. That's the middle of my XY chart. So I make my XY chart. I put 1 in the middle. So I put 2 and 3 and 0 and negative 1. I plug in 0, automatically I get negative 2, which means I rainbow that over to positive 2 is now negative 2. I plug in 1. 2 times 1 squared is 2. Minus 4 times 1 is 4. Minus 2. 2 minus 4 is negative 2. Minus 2 is negative 4. Now I'm going to plug in 3. 3 squared is 9, so 2 times 9 is 18. 18 minus 12 minus 2, I get positive 4, so I rainbow that over to there. So I'm going to have 1, negative 4, 0, negative 2, 2, negative 2, 3, positive 4, negative 1, positive 4. Remember, it's got to be a U. It's got to have arrows that go up. It says it goes up forever. And that's it for 47. Once again, it's standard form. So A is negative 1. B is 2. C is 1. X equals the opposite of B all over 2A. So I get negative 2 over 2 times negative 1. Remember, I do that first. So I get negative 2 over negative 2. That's 1. So I make my XY chart. I put 1 in the middle. I add 1. I add another 1. 0 and negative 1. I plug in 0 first because it's the easiest. Gives me 1. So I rotate 1 over to 2. I plug in 1. Negative 1 because 1 squared is 1 times negative is negative 1. Plus 2 plus 1. I get positive 2. Now I plug in 3. I get negative 9. Because 3 squared is 9, the opposite of that is negative 9. Plus 6, plus 1, so I get negative 2. And that rainbows all over there, negative 2. So now I'm just going to graph those points just like I did before. So I go over 1, up 2, put a dot. 0, 1, dot. 2, 1, dot. Negative 1, negative 2, dot. Positive 3, negative 2, dot. It should be a U, it should be symmetrical, it is. And I'm done. That's it for 48. Alright, because I see 2 sets of parentheses, I know this is intercept form. So I look here. Step 1, find A, P, and Q, then find the vertex using this formula, then I make my XY chart. Alright. So, A is negative 1, which means it's a frowny face. P is positive 2. Remember, we changed the sign of anybody hanging out with our X. Q is also hanging out with our X, so we change that to positive 4. Step 2 says X equals P plus Q. Notice it's in parentheses. That means you have to do the top first. So I say 2 plus 4 inside the parentheses, all over 2, so I get 6 over 2, which is 3. XY chart, I put 3 in the middle. Now you can make this a 5-point chart like you did last time. I'm not going to, because all I have to do is put in P, which is 2, and Q, which is 4. I don't have to plug in P and Q. I know they're automatically 0. I do have to plug in 3, so I get negative 3 minus 2, 3 minus 4. That's negative times 1 times negative 1 becomes positive 1. So I go 3, 1, 2, 0, 4, 0. Now, because I know it's a U, I know it's going to be just like every other shape. It's an upside down U, so it looks correct. That's good for 49. Alright, y equals x squared minus 6x plus 3. So I say A is 1, B is negative 6, C is 3. Notice we're back to standard form because there are no parentheses. The opposite of B, all over 2A. I say x equals the opposite of 6 is positive 6. All over 2 times 1. So it's 6 over 2, which is 3. So now the middle of our XY chart is 3. So I make my XY chart. I put 3 in the middle. I add 1, I add another 1. I subtract 1, I subtract another 1. I plug in 3. 3 squared is 9, minus 18, plus 3. 9 minus 18 is negative 9, plus 3 is negative 6. Now I'm going to plug in 2. 2 squared is 4, minus 12, plus 3. It's negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5. And I rainbow that over to get negative 5 next to 4. Now I plug in 1. 1 squared is 1, minus 6 times 1 is minus 6, plus 3. I get negative 5 plus 3, which is negative 2. That rainbows over. So I go 1 down to negative 2. I go 2 down to negative 5. And I go 3 down to negative 6. 4 negative 5. And 5 negative 2. Here's my graph. It's a little V at the end, at the bottom. It should be more U-shaped. It's a little bit better. And that's it for 50. Alright, 51. Y equals x squared minus 2x plus 3. Once again, it's standard form because there's no parentheses. So I say A is 1, B is negative 2, C is 3. I say x equals the opposite of B, which is positive 2 over 2 times 1. So I get 2 over 2, which is equal to 1. That's the middle of my XY chart. So make my XY chart. It's not always 1, and this is just a coincidence that a couple of them were 1. So I add 1 to get 2, I add 2 to add another 1 to get 3. And I have 0, negative 1. I just plug in 0 right away to get 3, and I rainbow that over to 2. I'm going to plug in 1, so 1 squared is 1, minus 2, plus 3. So 1 minus 2 is negative 1, plus 3 is 2. Now I'm going to plug in 2. Or I'll plug in 3. 3 squared is 9, minus 6, plus 3. I get 3 plus 3 is 6, so that's 6 rainbows all the way over there. I go over 1 up to 2, dot, 0, 3, dot, 2, 3, dot, 3, 6, dot, and then negative 1, 6. It has a nice U that's symmetrical. Put my arrows at the end. I'm done, and that's it. And that finishes this.